light in us, shining bright through us right here. Spirit, you're the love in us, reaching out with every touch. Spirit, you're the voice in us, rising up beyond a hush. Yeah, we feel it, we feel it. Yeah, we see it, believe it, it's Spirit. Spirit, you're the breath in us, breathing all of us right here. Spirit, you're the grace in us, calming every fear right here. Spirit, you're the peace in us, spreading out across the world. Spirit, you're the power in us, flying like a flag unfurled. Yeah, we feel it, we feel it. We see it, believe it, it's Spirit. Spirit, you're alive in us, you're alive in us right here. Spirit, you're the light in us, shining bright through us right here. Spirit, you're the love in us, reaching out with every touch. Spirit, you're the voice in us, rising up beyond a hush. Yeah, we feel it, we feel it. We see it, believe it. We feel it, we feel it, we feel it, we feel it. We see it, believe it, it's Spirit. We see it, believe it, it's Spirit. See it, believe it, it's Spirit.
I am feeling good, I am feeling fresh, I am feeling new, this is the best. I am staying true, not settling for less. I am breaking through, this is the best day.
Gonna tell no lies, I won't even try to contain it. What I feel, it is real, it is bigger than me. No, I can't ignore that my life is more satisfying. From inside, can I hide the light that is burning? Just a tiny ember spark this change in my life. Oh, I fan the flames every day, dreaming dreams in my mind. I am feeling good, I am feeling fresh, I am feeling new, this is the best. I am staying true, not settling for less. I am breaking through, this is the best day, yeah. This is the best day. I'm floating free, life can carry me gently forward to the next perfect step. No rush or no hurry, I am happy here where the sky is clear. Just be now in the flow, letting go am feeling fresh. I am feeling new. This is the best. I am staying true, not settling for less. I am breaking through. This is the best thing yet.
Good morning, Unity family. Welcome to our Sunday celebration. I'm here in my home in Nanacoke. It was a little cloudy today, and at least by the newscast, they're hoping for no rain, but we'll see how it goes. I hope you're home, you're safe, you're practicing your social distancing, and hopefully we can get through this soon. I mean, we've had an uptick and kind of steady between 800 and 1,000 new cases per day. Not the greatest news when you come from a place of 300, but we also must understand that more testing is being done, so more cases are being found. And let's just hold in the high watch that things start to turn around. I do miss being in the building. I do miss being able to be in front of you and seeing your faces, getting immediate feedback as to what you learned from the lesson, and getting questions and things like that. So yes, I'm excited to go back to the building, but I want us to go back when it's safe and that we can still go back and participate as we always have. And I know it's hard, and I talked about being at my daughter's graduation and wearing a mask for hours. My wife has to wear a mask for so many hours per day, but we want to make sure that not only are we safe, but that the people around us feel safe around us. Today we enter into the last two sections of our book, which is demonstration, broken up into part 1 and part 2. My lesson today will be more of the theory around it, talking about what is demonstration, where it comes from, what we do with it. And I kind of introduce you into the formula that Sherry Kim will talk about next week. She'll really dive into it. So with that, let's go ahead and start our service. And as always, we begin with prayer as we want to release anything, excuse me, that may be heavy on our hearts, heavy on our shoulders, so that we can move forward. So let us go ahead and close our eyes and just begin to breathe. And that is the greatest gift of life, is right there, is that breath. And as we breathe, let's just fill ourselves up and feel ourselves moving into sitting up tall. And as we release that breath, just sink deeply into the chair or wherever you're watching this. And just take another deep breath. And again, feel yourself just feeling tall. And release that worry of yesterday, knowing that this is the only time that is important. And one last deep breath. And let us just release that of the anxiety of worrying about tomorrow, as we know that we are fed daily as our Father gives us our daily bread. And that will lead into the next time. And we hold ourselves in this high watch for ourselves and the safety of everyone around us. We pray that all that is going on now run its course, so that we can go back to some normalcy in our lives. And if we've allowed this to help us grow, then we know that we will never go back to the way life is, but we know that life will be there waiting for us with open arms, saying, well, now that you have had a chance to grow, had a chance to practice, had a chance to take a pause in your life, that you're here to be better and bigger and brighter for the people around you. And I know I'm a part of this, and we all are a part of this. We're a part of this allness that lights up the life within us, that divine spark within us. We are a part of the world, and we are a part of the healing. And it is up to us to become the metaphysicians we are destined to be, just like our master teacher, so that we can shine that light for everyone else. We see healing, wholeness, joy, peace for all of those people who are challenged in some way. We see safety for those that are going through weather challenges on top of this COVID-19 situation. And we know all is well because it's all in divine order. And we want to help them see that within themselves. And we say it is, and so it is. Amen. And let us move on to our next song.
All is well, I can rest, I am safe. All is well, all is well, I can rest, I am safe. All is well, all is well, I can rest, I am safe. All is well, all is well, I can rest, I am safe. All is well.
So I hope you felt that prayer deeply, and I hope you enjoyed the song that followed. And let's just get through a few announcements as always. If you're so moved to give to our ministry and help us grow, even in these times, I mean, this is a time where we want to give, because this gives us a kind of a pause that we can start building the ministry to come back strong. So as always, you can contribute on our website at unityofnepa.org. Contribute button at the top. Again, if you're using your phone, please turn it lengthwise. The contribute button will appear. If you so move to watch this on YouTube and you go to our YouTube channel, at the top you'll see a small P, that is our PayPal link. Again, you can always mail it in. Our office staff will take care of that for you and make sure that your gift is received with so much gratitude. And even before we ask for gifts, we are grateful for not only just your spirit, but also the gifts that you give, no matter what the amount is, to help us grow this ministry. In 2 weeks, we are supposed to have Dozy from Arizona. She had already contacted me about flying down, but I had told her we are not opening the building by that point, or had no plans at that point to open the building. So we're discussing whether we're going to delay it till we can bring her in person, or we'll do something over Zoom so that you can have her lesson. If we do not do it virtually, I have my student that I am the student advisor for. He will be doing a lesson for me on getting through or growing through these challenging times, which I think is a good talk that he's doing, and he was explaining it to me, and he told me that he will record it so that we can play it on that Sunday for us. So we are covered on that day. After that day, we will be moving on to our new book, so make sure that you get a copy for yourself, and that's The Untethered Soul. Lee will open up with an introduction to it and what exactly we'll be going through. As again, I read this book many years ago, as well as I've seen a few ministers in Unity actually utilize this book for a lesson, so I was very grateful for Lee to bring this up. After that, I'm still kind of teetering on what book we're going for. Originally, I had said we were going to use The Compass, but I also had to realize something that I learned through my abundance class, that sometimes out of fear or out of what we call the upper level problems, I thought that the book I had originally chose is not something that we may want to get into. But I also realized that after hitting this metaphysical time and the challenges within us, and then going into The Untethered Soul, that book, The Big Leap, which was my original plan, might be the thing we need to hear. And I actually was introduced to that book by Christ Universal Temple, which we know as Dr. Johnny Coleman's book. And Dr. Johnny Coleman, if you're not familiar with her, was a Unity minister who went on to create a very large following in Chicago, and other people have been ordained through her program. So that might be the book we'll go through, but we have plenty of time, and I will announce that moving forward. As far as I told you, I would discuss some things, and I wanted to do it from a point of my own self-care, because I do have a lot going on again. Things have happened even in my job that have moved me into a positive light at work, even though that's not where my heart is. My heart is in becoming this, being and doing ministry, which I do even at work. My Reiki and my life coaching and stuff like that. But at this moment, I was blessed with a few other things, so I continue to go in the flow, and divine order will take me where it needs to be. So my plan is Tuesdays and Thursdays will be meditation days, and I've taken my cue from Unity on the Bay. We're going to have a morning meditation, probably around 8 a.m. in the morning, where we'll focus on our intention for the day. Probably at 8 p.m. that night, we will have another Facebook Live, where we will talk about our meditation for gratitude, and this will be Tuesdays and Thursdays. The other days, I will start with the new book, which is the Spiritual Tools, and give you a kind of daily look into the spiritual tools we can use every day, and how some of our ministers have used it. And then my next thing is thinking about maybe doing a daily word commentary on a daily basis. so that if you just need that extra push during the day, you'll have that. Also keeps me in practice because I get to not only share the daily word with you live, but also kind of do a commentary or a small lesson on it very quickly, nothing, kind of what I've been doing on the daily word itself. And I know I talked about this before. I am still kind of nervous about it. Is I've been reading in Spanish, watching shows to practice my own Spanish because I want to give a gift to our Latino community. If you were there when we had a Spanish group rent our church, they would pack that church, which tells us that there is a large Spanish community out there looking for our teachings as well. So I want to start doing that as well, but I'm not going to put a date on that because, again, I am still kind of working through fears of the ego, but we will get there and we will give them that gift. So with that, let me go ahead and read our daily word for today. And the word for today is aspirations. And say that to yourself. Aspirations. How does that make you feel? Aspirations. And our mantra or our affirmation for today is, I grow in spirit, understanding, and live the truth I know. And together, I grow in spirit, understanding, and live the truth I know. One last time. I grow in spirit, understanding, and I grow in spiritual understanding and live the truth I know. And our affirmative prayer here is, when I elevate my thoughts from a narrow point of view to a spiritual point of view, I grow in spiritual understanding. Just as Jesus went up to the mountain to pray, I go to my inner higher place to raise my thinking and gain insight. Prayer is a communion with God within the innermost part of my being. Through prayer, I remember good exists in spirit and everything happens for good. I know answers will come and new perspectives will be revealed. I aspire to grow in understanding and demonstration of spiritual principles and live the truth I know, centered in truth. I see beyond the conflicts and challenge. I visualize everything working for my common good. And from our biblical scripture of Matthew 17:1, Jesus took with him Peter and James and his brother John and led them up a high mountain by themselves. That's our daily word for today. I hope you've been practicing by reading your daily word daily and utilizing that center verbiage as your affirmative prayer. And I hope you've called Silent Unity and heard them pray with you. So with that, when we come back, I'm going to touch a little bit about prayer and a couple of things that were commented last week and a few tools you can use to move from that space into the more affirmative space. With that, our next song.
And lost in the roar of the clamor and commotion. The thunder deafens and lightning blinds. I'm drowning in the darkness in the ocean of my mind. Taught by the world to believe in fear's illusions and caught in the whirl of the chaos and confusion. I close my eyes and calm my soul. I feel the truth within me, then I let it take control. And I'm centered in the storm, and I know I'm not alone. The thunder is the voice of God, leading me home. When I'm centered in the storm, where it's always safe and warm, I see a beacon in the night, keeping me centered in the storm. Led by the sun to the shores of my salvation, and fed by the love that exists in all creation. And I will never drift off course, no. Faith is my anchor, and God is my source. When I'm centered in the storm, and I know I'm not alone, the thunder is the voice of God leading me home. When I'm centered in the storm, where it's always safe and warm, I see a beacon in the night, keeping me centered in the storm. Set adrift upon this changing sea, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. When I'm centered in the storm, and I know I'm not alone, the thunder is the voice of God leading me home. When I'm centered in the storm, where it's always safe and warm, oh, I see a beacon in the night, always shining bright, never out of sight, keeping me centered in the storm. I'm centered in the storm.
Good morning, and as I said at the beginning, we are talking about demonstration today. But before I get into the demonstration part of this, I wanted to talk a little bit about our conversation last week about prayer. And I did get some feedback, and not all of it was positive. Again, it was a challenging topic, especially if you come from a place where, prayer was used for something else. So I took my cue from Reverend Roxanne Graves, who is one of the administrators at the Urban Ministerial School, and she actually did a service recently called Why Do We Pray, or Who Do We Pray To? And in there, she reminds us, and I've also shared this with you, and if I'm correct, it's from the book How to Speak Unity, is that unity does not tell you how to do or what to do. They basically give you tools. I share my experience and allow you to find your path. So a few tips for those who were kind of bothered or may have had some challenges from last week's talk is, one, if you're still someone who practices or is on a path that still has a belief in something outside of you or someone, the gods, the goddesses, anything, whatever it is for you, that's fine, and still want to practice affirmative prayer, then the practice that Reverend Roxanne Graves gave, I thought it was perfect, is instead of waiting for an answer, automatically think that you've been given a yes. So every time you pray, you chant, you meditate to your specific faith, practice that it is giving you a yes every time, and see what happens, see what changes. If you're like me and you're in like the second level, which is where I was when I got to Unity, when I would hear people talk and using the older language, and I explained in one of my lessons before that sometimes they had to use the older language so people could follow along who were coming from other religions, and you heard, asking or beseeching something outside, even though those people who were raised in Unity or may have practiced more understood what they were saying. But for someone like me who came from a more fundamental religion, heard the words and were immediately taken away from or moved from that space, if you're using those words still, ask yourself, how do you feel? I had a chance to pray with a student who has been teaching Course in Miracles for a long time, and I'm his student advisor. And we were talking about how, we talked about this earlier, where he was promoted, or he's actually being offered this spiritual leadership in one of the unities, even being only in his second year of ministerial school. And in that chance, we were talking about, advice for him. He asked me advice, we just started talking about our individual ministries, and he started praying with me for the best for both our ministries, where we went ahead and the feeling came out, where I had tears in my eyes, because you could feel the joy, you could feel the Spirit moving through both of us, and it was intense. And that's where it comes from. So if you're still using words like dear God, God give, and you're okay with it and you feel fine, that's great. But that's what it is, the feeling. If you feel like you're being pulled out, then start to use other words, whether it's allness, whether it's spirit, whatever makes you comfortable, to remind you to go within. So again, these are just tools that I can give you. There are so many others. Again, Eric Butterworth wrote a book called The Universe is Calling. There is How to Pray Without Talking to God. There is Affirmative Prayer. There's so many books out there, so many YouTube videos now of people speaking both from our perspective and the Center for Spiritual Living perspective, or CSL as you may hear it. But that's what's important here. And the beauty of this is this was what brings us to this week. It's the last 2 sections of the book, and it's called Demonstration. Sometimes you'll hear it said as expression. I love that he opens up with the book where it says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Well, last week's prayer thing actually goes back to the one I like to use, which is, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. And I think that we've done that in this talk, where we've brought it from the beginning of learning what allness is, what God truly is to us in the metaphysical form here at Unity. Then bring it from the allness down to our divinity, from our divinity to what exactly is faith. From faith, we brought it down to what is love. From what love, we brought it down to what is prayer. So we've touched on a lot of things, and I'm sure a lot of it has bumped up with your old belief. It's what we call chemicalization, with a new thought comes across to our old thinking, and they start to clash. And it's not a pretty picture. It's not a lot of fun. But if you can get through it, you'll find that truth on the other side. But to demonstrate, to demo, or to show, this is where we express what we've seen. One of the things that the author touches on, and I think is so true, is that a lot of people come to New Thought from a problem-based area, where we have an issue. Maybe we were at another church that didn't accept us, or we didn't accept its teachings. I know for me, a lot of the teachings I was getting by the time I was 15 just did not resonate with me. And this is when you hear me talk about stories of going into Buddhism. Through the martial arts, I was introduced to the Tendai Mekyo. I started looking into the Kabbalah and things like that. So things may have gone wrong. Maybe you were sick and someone says, try New Thought, and try a treatment, and try something. Maybe there was financial problems. That was another reason I came to Unity, because when I heard the CD Prosperity, the prosperity part of it did not resonate with any of my spiritual being. And when I heard Eric Butterworth, or I heard this CD that said Eric Butterworth said that being poor was a sin, and he went on to explain and start talking about Unity on the Bay, I just had a realization, an aha moment. But I'll share that with you in a second. It realized, and it brought to me that I wanted to find a way to balance my spirituality with my prosperity, and I found Unity. And the aha moment for me is that I realized that Randy Gage, who wrote the CDs or spoke on the CDs, actually came from Unity on the Bay, and I'm actually taking prosperity. I'm taking the advanced absolute abundance class with Unity on the Bay. So coincidence? Probably not. And it's a beauty that I'm able to do that through technology now, and hopefully share that with you guys. So when we come to a situation just for troubleshooting, as we would say it as a technician, or to fix a situation, we have to be careful how we handle it. Because if the only reason we practice our spirituality, the only reason that we pray, or the only reason that we have faith is because there is something going on in our life that we need to change, then the demonstration will never be true of the truth. And if the truth is only used for the purpose of fixing something, then it's what our author calls metaphysical hypochondriacs. It is that belief that the only time we do any kind of practice, the only time we enter into prayer, the only time we touch into our faith or evaluate our faith, is that there is something going wrong. And the problem is, and we know this, that when we manifest those things, Michael Bernard Beckwith said it best. He says, worry is nothing more than manifesting into your life what you didn't want in the first place. So when we do that, we become a hypochondriac. Well, my finances are not good, so I need some treatments. I need this. There's nothing wrong when it actually comes up. But if you're genuinely just following that pattern, if you're genuinely just bringing in things and worrying and manifesting things into your life just so that you have a reason to practice these metaphysical principles we've given you, then it becomes hypochondriac. There's also there's another title out there that's called spiritual malpractice, which is where we go and we think that we can pray it away or we can think it away, but there's no work to be done. And we know Johnny Coleman saying, it works if it works it. And I like to rephrase that to, it works if I work it. Again, I bought the book, can't wait to read it, but again, that's another lesson in itself. But I want you to think that all these successful ministers, all these successful people who have paved the way for you, have put these things into practice. And like I said, they probably failed at it, tried again, and finally got into that flow of life. Again, another book by Eric Butterworth. And they did that through the art of practice. The purpose of these is not to solve a problem. And there's a biblical saying in Matthew 6:25, take no thought to what you shall eat or what you shall drink. So when we go into it, we know that it's a beautiful day. We know, today it's a little cloudy out here in Nanticoke, and I did check the weather. It's not going to rain because I wanted to do a few other videos later on to kind of get back into the flow of things for myself and for our ministry. And the purpose is knowing, I've fallen into doubt myself. And if I only use my practices when I fall into doubt, then again, back to spiritual malpractice, back to being a spiritual or metaphysical hypochondriac. We know that through our subconscious mind, we tap into divine mind. And then a lot of times it's filtered through our conscious mind. So this is where all the teachings come into place. Because when we receive that message in the silence, and we talked about that during the prayer part, when we have that single point where we listen, we let go of thoughts, we let go of everything, and we just listen, and something comes to us. Sometimes it's in a dream, maybe it's not during our prayer time, maybe it's just an aha moment, just like I just had a few minutes ago. We begin to see that, but our consciousness and our ego point of it comes from there. Again, demonstration is not about focusing on creating miracles. We know that our master teacher said that we can do all that he did and so much more. But that comes from a point of knowing, as he says, that there is nothing that I have done that has not come through the Father. And for us, that's divine mind. Are we tapping into that, or are we coming from an ego perspective? Because if we're focused on the miracle we're trying to produce, then we're coming from the point of the miracle, which is a point of our ego, and we need to let that go. We need to know that it comes through us. We've all heard the saying, God can't do anything for us. He can only come through us. And we become that expression. We are the gods in the expression of what we believe is love, peace, joy. Let there be peace on earth, but let it begin with me. Because only through me can the world around me be at peace. Only through me can the world around me be in love. Only through me can I bring joy into my world. And that's what demonstration is. It is truly being part of the creation of the world around you. You know, a story I'll share is that my wife, you know, the reason sometimes we joke about her calling me Big Buddha was because when I was younger, yes, I had a temper. And a lot of people equate the temper with his being Hispanic and things like that. And later on I became Big Buddha because I realized that losing my temper didn't do anything for me. When things happened, if I looked at it and understood the truth behind it, then and only then was I able to truly make a difference in my life. And that energy that I put out, that demonstration that went out, usually reaches out to the people around me and then turns that around. That's demonstration. I love that the author uses the example of the Jesus' temptation in the 40 days in the desert where he meditates and he's tempted. He uses the word devil here. Many of our Bibles use adversary, which allows us to realize that it's literally Jesus battling his own mind, his own ego. And we talk about desires, and in his case, during the time of fasting and that, he became hungry. So of course his ego automatically took him to, well, turn stone into bread. Show your magnificence. You know, later on he thought about peace in the nation and that. And part of it is the fact that he thought that if he was leader, he could turn it around. So of course his ego created a situation of, if I give you all of this and you become highly exalted. So now it was no more just being a leader, but that he would be king or being that. So again, the ego took place and he had to fight that adversary. And the last one, of course, we know is throw yourself off the highest mountain and the angels will catch you. So again, supremacy. Ego comes in and he had to say, Satan, get ye behind me. In fact, later in the Bible, if you remember, Peter was actually, during the whole time of the crucifixion and, you know, leading up to that point, Peter said something to the master teacher, and he himself tells Peter, Satan, get ye behind me. Because again, we have that situation going on where we have people talking in our ears, we have the media in our ears, and we have so much temptation going on to leave this spiritual practice. And it is so important that we kind of push that aside. We tell Satan, get ye behind me, so that we can move forward. It's all about growth here. You know, as I always tell you, sitting here on a Sunday or when we're in the building on a Sunday hearing a lesson, and the only thing you're focused on is hanging out with your friends or moving on through your day and that, and you do nothing during the week, again, that's a spiritual malpractice. Because we want you to do this every day. You know, we joke about how we say, you know, we don't take a bath once a week. We take a bath once a day or whatever, and because we need that daily thing. You know, some of the announcements I talked about earlier was for that reason, because, you know, during the week, even if you're not a practitioner of doing it every day, but maybe one of those days you kind of felt off key and you join on to listen to one of the videos that I've done, or gone back to our YouTube channel and listened to it, and puts you back into practice. And sooner or later, it'll get to a point in your life where you're going to wake up and go, get ready to go, and wait, no, I need some time in prayer, or no, I need some time in meditation. And as I said last week, meditation doesn't always have to have a time to it. If it's only 5 minutes, if it's only 10 minutes, if it's only 1 minute, just enough to say, I'm centered into this moment and I'm going with the flow. But that's the demonstration, because then as you practice that daily, we begin to show more. We need to look at the allness always being around us. So when we sit together, when we're doing our work, when we're with family and those temptations come up, we center back into that allness. We know that the allness is all around us, is engulfing us. There is no separation between us, and that's what's important during this practice. During this practice, we must always follow that centering and know that the ego does not take a play in this demonstration. Next week, Sherry Kim will complete this chapter, and she's going to give you a little math to know. And in that math is an equation. C plus B equals A. And in that equation, we learn, and this equation, if you believe it or not, carries you through a lot of the law of attraction. So if you're watching The Secret, or there's a brand new movie out that's I can't wait, I'm hoping to see it this afternoon. It's a live story movie, so a regular movie, so to say, based on the principles of The Secret. Went straight to demand. I think you can rent it on like Amazon Prime or Vudu for like $19.99, just like any other movie that should have went to the theaters. I am extremely excited to watch it. But again, it is knowing that formula, and she'll talk more about it. But I'll give you the definition of the equation, which is C plus B equals A. What you can conceive in your mind and believe you can achieve. And trust me, you'll hear this even outside of Unity. You will hear this through personal development books. I've heard this through many of the books I read when I didn't even know a Unity existed. So that tells you how this transcends any type of religion. This is a true mental science, and as simple as that equation is, you'll hear so much more that has to do with this. We talk about the desire that we have. Normally we say the desire is God knocking on our heartstring or our heart or our minds, letting us know, hey, there's something more, there's something we want to do. Then there's a difference between regular desire and divine desire, and that's important to know, because there's a difference between, hey, Movado just came out with a smartwatch and it's $800 for this watch to tell me that there's emails and that there, how many steps I took today, and possibly take a call if I need to from my watch rather than taking my phone out, things like that. But it's a status symbol, it's a Movado, it's the museum piece, it's, this is desires based on media, because as much as it's a pretty watch, I don't need to spend $800 on it. Or if I want to take it to another level, there is a quorum watch that is actually called the bridge, which is where the mechanics is literally, as the face of the watch, the mechanics go right down the middle of it, and it's in glass encased or crystal encased so that you can see it. It's a $32,000 watch to tell me the same time that any other device I have can do. Those are media-driven desires. Those are society-driven desires, because it is something I want, because it is a status symbol. It feeds the ego to say, hey, I'm important, I have this, rather than knowing that I am important because of who I am and whose I am. Then there's the divine desire, that desire to serve, that desire to know. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I've been going through a lot of self-doubt recently. And it could just be the being cooped up for the COVID-19, and doing these lives rather than being in the building and having the mics and all the other stuff and seeing faces. Am I truly making a difference? And when I had that talk with my student, the person who I'm a student advisor for, and we started talking back and forth of his ideas and my ideas, and he was excited for me and I'm excited for him, and we're going back and forth, it relived it, and I truly believe that that was a desire that I needed. That was my design. That was my divine desire. So where are we at today? Well, let's review. We know that demonstration does not come from the ego. We do not force something to come out. We want to stay away from spiritual malpractice, which is just we're going to practice only when things go wrong, and we're going to let it go. So we're going to hit a treatment, let it go, do nothing for ourselves when there is work to be done. Then there's metaphysical malpractice, where we think that the only reason we do any practice or treatment is when something goes wrong, in which time we start to manifest those situations over and over and over again. Let's get out of that mindset. Let us know that we are centered in this moment. Let us know that we are one with the allness, that we are one with this practice, and we know that nothing or anything can push us out of this but ourselves. So with that, let me go ahead and enter a bit of meditation here. And again, I like to use the meditation at the end of the chapter. And actually, you know what? I'm going to leave that meditation for next week, because I think it will conclude everything we taught. And that, so let's just close our eyes and enter into that centering space. Let's take that moment of breathing in this allness. Just feel that beauty, that love, that joy, just filling ourselves as we center into gravity, and we allow it to take its course as it pulls us down, and we relax into this moment. Just breathe. And just breathe. And as you feel that energy, that light just filling us up, we know that that's the allness that we plug into. It is the allness that we are connected to. It is that which in us, it is the divine spark. It is the light that people see. It is the demonstrations that we give that change the people around us, because they choose to see that light and they choose to enlighten themselves. And imagine when we can light up the world, what we can do to change it. And through this demonstration, we know that our demonstration does not come from the ego. It does not come from that which is desired from the outside of us, but those divine desires that come from inside of us. And today we affirm, today we command, today we say, we are the light of the world. And we live within this allness. We are in this allness. We are this allness. Feel it. Just feel it, where the body can't contain this light anymore. The light just continues to expand with every breath. And feel it around your body. It may be a tingle. It may feel like a hug. But feel it expanding, because we can't contain this light. The more we practice, the more we are a part of this, the more we change the world, because they see our light and they want to see their own light. And that's our journey here, is to take this metaphysics, put it into practice so that they can see our light and we can help them see theirs. We utilize the power of prayer to help ourselves become more vested in the allness, to see and change our own personalities. When we learn to pray with others, it is to help them see that within themselves. We stop the ego from tempting us. And when it does tempt us, we say, "Get ye behind me, Satan." Because we affirm that today forward, we are metaphysicians. We do practice this metaphysics, not just one moment, but every moment of our lives. And we do this in the name and the consciousness that we know as the Christ. And we know it's done because we say it is, and so it is. Amen. And as always, I'm humbled for being here. I hope you got something from this lesson. Next week, tune in so that as Sherry Kim will take you through the actual master formula for demonstration. And just keep that math equation in mind. C plus B equals A. What you can conceive and believe, you can achieve. Namaste.
It's a feeling we all want. Sometimes it seems impossible, but it's truly what you came here for. Let me show you how to feel it more.
A feeling once you learn to navigate. Hey, something now you contemplate. Let go, my friend, and don't resist. Relax and start to feel the breeze.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not hard when you choose differently. What you want ain't always what you think will be. And now accept it all and just allow. Yeah, yeah. Everything's exactly how it should be. Sufferings, resisting what you don't want to feel. Accept it all and be.
Whatever comes up, feel the soul. Recognize it all and just let go. Release the labels, let it flow.
Let it flow. If you're feeling thoughts and stimuli are all part of the divine, then all is well and always is. Trust into that and feel the bliss. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not hard when you choose differently. What you want ain't always what you think, so be here now. Accept it all and just allow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything's exactly how it should be. Sufferings, resisting what you don't wanna feel. Accept it all and leave. Before you were born, you chose this life to remember you are love and light. Understanding it's all here for you. A plan to help you know the truth.
The divine uses everything to show you its love. Are you remembering? If there's one thing you can trust,
you can always count on love. What you came here for. Let me show you how to feel it more. Yeah. It's not hard when you choose differently. What you want ain't always what you think, so be it now. Accept it all and just allow. Yeah, yeah. Everything's exactly how it should be. Sufferings, resisting what you don't wanna feel. Accept it all and leave. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not hard when you choose differently. What you want ain't always what you think, so be it now. Accept it all and just allow. Everything's exactly how it should be. Sufferings, resisting what you don't wanna feel. Accept it all and leave.
As always, we've come to this time of our service where we've received, and now it's our chance to demonstrate and participate in the giving and receiving. So take your gifts in your hand, or if you've already given, just virtually keep it in your mind. The loving offerings that you have given, and we are so grateful for, and together let's bless those gifts with divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And our prayer for protection today: the light of God surrounds us, and for ourselves, I am light. The love of God enfolds us, I am love. The power of God protects us, I am power. The presence of God watches over us, I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and I am divine. I'm grateful for you, for your gifts, and for your presence here today. And as always, I hope to see everybody next week.